Today's video has been brought to you by the 3 DOS Ghosts Gaming and Entertainment Organization. Please click down on the link below to check out and join our community Discord. The Suicide Squad just hit theaters and HBO Max this past Friday, August 6th, and is the 10th installment into the DCEU, and I absolutely loved it. Let's get into it. What's up everyone, Jonathan Thames here and welcome to the Multimedia Megafan channel. Before I dive into it today, I want to say thank you to one of my regular viewers, Jen from Get Me More. Definitely go check out his channel if you haven't yet done so. Jen always leaves the nicest comments and has given me some very kind compliments about my setup and the quality of my videos, so I went ahead and included links in the description below for all of the gear that I use to help produce these videos, in case anyone might find that to be helpful. So everything from the camera, lenses, audio gear, lighting gear, down to the computer that I use to edit with. It's all listed below if you're interested in checking some of those things out to add to your collection and setup. Thank you again, Jen, for your kind words, man. I really appreciate it. Now, without any further delay, let's dive into today's review. The Suicide Squad was directed by James Gunn and features performances by a star-studded cast including Margot Robbie, Idris Elba, John Cena, Joel Kinnaman, Michael Rooker, Viola Davis, Sylvester Stallone, David Dastmalchian, and Peter Capaldi. And I think that literally every single one of them does an awesome job in their role. Margot Robbie once again delivers an extremely entertaining performance and has basically mastered the character of Harley at this point and truly made it her own, so it was really no surprise to me that I enjoyed her performance in this movie. The same can definitely be said for Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, in my opinion, as I thought she delivered a strong performance in the 2016 David Ayer film as well, though I can easily say that her presence in this movie felt a lot more intense in comparison. She feels cold and evil times 1,000 in this movie, and it was great. I also really enjoyed Idris Elba's performance a lot in this movie. Now, being an extremely talented veteran actor who never really fails to deliver well in his performances, I definitely expected to enjoy his performance in this movie going in, but I have to say that it surpassed even those relatively high expectations. He very well demonstrates the right blend of intense and fun characteristics that kept me fully entertained by his character. David Dastmalchian is another actor who never delivers a bad performance as far as I'm concerned. At least I have yet to see one. And his performance as Polka Dot Man in this movie is absolutely no exception to that. I had a lot of fun with his interpretation of that character. But the performance that actually did take me somewhat by surprise was John Cena as the Peacemaker. He was absolutely amazing, and his line delivery for all of his dialogue, whether it was intended to be genuinely intense or intended to get a laugh, was absolutely spot on. I hadn't seen John Cena in any films prior to this, so I really didn't know where he was on the scale as far as his acting chops, but he was a lot of fun in this movie. I also had a really good number of laughs from Sylvester Stallone as the voice of King Shark. I really enjoyed his performance and the genuine conviction behind the simplicity of each line he's delivering. It's something that could have easily been overdone or overplayed to the point of being too silly and not working, but Stallone's delivery kept it from crossing that threshold, and I thought it ended up working very well with the movie's overall tone. As far as characters go, I do have to admit that I'm not super familiar with all of the characters featured in the movie, so I can't really determine whether or not the representations of all of them were accurate in regards to their comic counterparts, but I definitely found myself being drawn in and entertained by this movie's incarnation of each of them. Harley, of course, they nailed. Again, after 3 films, Margot Robbie has got that character absolutely down pat, though I would have to say this is probably the most realized version of Harley's character to date, because it embellished on the characteristics that make her a truly great character on her own, and didn't feel the need to play on the fact that she was the Joker's ex yet again. Actually, this movie does a good job with that altogether, keeping all the characters interesting and engaging based on their own unique characteristics and abilities, and not trying to simply extrapolate interest from their attachment to larger, more popular characters or franchises. As someone who isn't really familiar with the character of Bloodsport or his alter ego and personality, I felt that this was a pretty strong, interesting, and engaging introduction, and definitely found myself getting drawn in by Idris Elba's performance, as well as the character story and motivation, which I have to say starts out in a way that seems like it's gonna be just another recycled motivation with the father-daughter dynamic, but really quickly does a good job at setting itself apart as its own unique situation. Peacemaker is another character I really didn't know much about, but that ended up providing a lot more value to the movie than I anticipated, and I really enjoyed the dynamic and conflicts that arise between his character and a couple of the others in the movie due to conflicting ideologies. And again, he has some genuinely amazing moments of dialogue that are delivered brilliantly by John Cena. Also, I really enjoyed the setup for the movie's main villain, and genuinely felt the threat that his presence presented, and thought that his motive was genuinely relatable and somewhat sympathetic. I mean, if someone did to you what was done to him, I think you'd have a bit of a score to settle too. Without saying who, there were a few characters that I was a little surprised / disappointed that didn't end up surviving in the movie, but I'd say that's on me because James Gunn made very clear his warning not to let yourself get too attached to any characters. So I'll just confirm to you all that that's pretty solid advice. As far as the story goes, I thought that the storytelling approach was pretty interesting. It progresses in a relatively straightforward way through the majority of the movie, but there are a few instances where the audience's time jumped around a little bit, which can seem a little jarring at first, but the way that they were able to connect the scenes together when doing this ended up making it work really well in my opinion. And in each case, I thought that it provided a rewarding payoff and offered justification for the disruption. There was really only one aspect of the story as the subplot is developing around Harley that stood out to me as being a little random and not extremely well explained or justified, but it really wasn't anything that I took huge issue with. From a direction standpoint, everything in this movie looks fantastic. Each action scene is beautifully shot and edited and is crystal clear. And the colors throughout the movie are very eye-catching, vibrant, and gorgeous, and just work really well to help create an extremely aesthetically pleasing experience. And for the most part, the special effects and CG, most especially those surrounding the main villain and final battle, are all done pretty well. There were one or two scenes in the movie where I felt like the CG stood out as being a little subpar, but those moments were fleeting, and again, I was actually really impressed with how it all came together for the big sequence at the end. Overall, I give the movie a rating of 8 out of 10 and definitely recommend going to check it out if you're a DC fan or even just a comic book fan in general, as it's easily one of the best installments into the franchise as of yet and is definitely a win in my opinion. But that's just my personal take on it. The Suicide Squad is currently playing in theaters and is also streaming on HBO Max through September 5th. So if you'd like to subscribe to HBO Max and check it out there, I've left a link in the description down below. So if you want to go give it a watch, come back and let me know in the comments what you thought about it. I want to thank everybody for watching today's review. I hope that you're all doing well. Be sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to subscribe so I can see you all in the next video.